All right, Vicki, I think we're ready when you are.
Perfect. All right. So I'm Vicki Rad, the Director for Macomb County Planning and Economic Development. I'll go ahead and get this kicked off. It's always a great day in Macomb County when we get to spend some time with our businesses, especially with what we've been experiencing throughout the county. Very interesting times. Not only are we dealing with a health crisis, we have an economic development crisis. We're really excited to push out the 3 new programs today to really help your businesses get past this COVID-19 pandemic. And you'll learn a lot about the different programs. If you have applied for previous grants through Macomb County or the state of Michigan, you'll find that these also are eligible for some reimbursement or grant funding. So there's a way for you to layer. We know some of you received a $5,000 check from us that didn't necessarily make you whole. So hopefully this can help overcome some of the costs that you've experienced as a small business. That's myself. Just a little bit of the demographic in Macomb County. It's pretty amazing when we think about the 18,000 businesses we've got in our county. The majority of us are small businesses. I know many of you on the call today fall within this category. In fact, 99.9% of our businesses fall under the 500 employee or less. And you'll see that the programs that we rolled out really do focus on our true small businesses. You have been impacted really hard throughout this pandemic with some of the executive orders that force you to shut down, and then you had to safely reopen. And you'll kind of see that theme come through. One of the things with Macomb County, we did receive some CARES Act funding through the federal government. Our department, Planning and Economic Development, did receive an allocation of $70 million, in which we're rolling out a series of different programs. The first phase of that was getting out grants. Many of you guys applied for those grants. And now we're looking at some very specific programs, listening to our businesses and really understanding where is the real need. And you'll maybe see that reflected today in the PowerPoint. You can go on to the next slide. Before I jump into the micro enterprise, there is a chat feature at the bottom of your screen. You can see the little bubble, it says chat. We will be fielding all questions through the chat feature. So if you have a question that pops up, go ahead and type that in there. At the very end, we will try to answer as many of those questions as possible. If you've applied for any of our previous grants, you're gonna find that there's very similarities to the application as far as what needs to be uploaded. So you may have some comfort level with that. However, if you have not applied for any of our grants, this may be new to you. So we'll make sure that we get those questions answered. So the 3 new programs, we've got a micro enterprise assistance grant program. This actually comes to us from CDBG. We have up to $2 million that we have in this particular pot of money. It is coming from the CARES Act, but from a different federal agency. So I'll talk a little bit about that. We also have a workplace safety reimbursement program. This is us listening to our businesses. You definitely had to go out and purchase some PPE or technology that you had not anticipated coming into the year 2020. So this will give you the ability to get reimbursed for those costs. And then we're going to talk about Online Business Connect. This is a great tool and a great opportunity for our businesses to do something different, especially in today's world where perhaps maybe face-to-face isn't always the best way for us to go about our business. We've got to do things differently. And so you'll learn a little bit more about how you can get more digitally advanced out there in the World Wide Web. So you want to go ahead and this program, the Micro Enterprise Assistance Grant Program. This is the first one I'm going to talk about. As I mentioned, it is funded through our Community Development Block Grant, CDBG. In Macomb County, we have 27 communities. Some communities run their own CDBG. Macomb County does oversee about 20 communities in the county. And so this one is particular to the community, but it's really unique that you can apply for a grant. We have up to $2 million available to local businesses. The big thing here, if you are a business that has experienced lost revenue or you incurred additional costs due to COVID-19, you can seek dollars for those costs. It is for qualified micro enterprise employees. When we talk about eligibility, including the owner, it's 1 to 5 employees, and that also includes your home-based business. And I'll kind of dive more into the details on some of the other slides. This program, the Micro Enterprise Assistance Grant Program, we actually began accepting applications yesterday, and it will run through September 30th. That one closes out at noon. It's important to note that deadline. The eligibility will vary depending on the community. On our website, macombusiness.com, you can actually click on each of the communities depending on where your home business is based, or your storefront or your brick and mortar business is based. You will want to click on that community and read about what the eligibility criteria is. And you'll also find additional information on our website. All right, so this program, there are restrictions. One is the employee count. And as I mentioned, it's for micro enterprise, for those 1 to 5 employees. So these are our real tiny type businesses. You also have to reach a threshold as far as your income levels. And we've provided for you a chart of the household size. What you do want to make sure is that your household size and income do not exceed the amounts shown here. For example, if you're a household of 2, you do want to calculate both the income that you bring in and then that second individual in your household to come up with your income level. Income includes those that you receive through work, through your paychecks. It also could be retirement as well as Social Security. And so it's going to be a combined effort for you to get to that income level. All right, the application, there are some requirements, and you're gonna find that we're gonna consistently push a message out there that you wanna make sure that you provide us with a complete application. There's gonna be what's called a signed W-9. Later in the slide, we'll show you what that W-9 looks like and what the requirements are. We do need a physical signature on that W-9, as well as a completed and signed application addendum that is found on the website. A recent utility bill. This does have to be dated within the last 30 days. Also, you'll need to provide proof of a SAMS registration. Because we are dealing with federal dollars, there's a requirement that you do get registered on the Systems for Award Management, the website, SAMS.gov. And I'm going to show you the next slide where if you're not already registered in SAMS, how to go about getting registered through a webinar that's taking place next week. You also will have to provide 4 weeks of payroll as well as a recent profit loss statement or a Schedule C, and we'll show you what that Schedule C looks like. This is important for the CDBG program. As they're trying to determine, what were your losses that you incurred for the year, they're going to want to check to see that there was in fact an actual loss. And once they do that calculation, that will help determine what you're eligible to receive. All right, so this is your, if you're not registered in SAMS, we do have a webinar coming up. We've partnered with our partners with the Macomb Regional Procurement Technical Assistance Centers, the PTACs. On our website, macombgov.org or macombusiness.com, you can click on that link to register, and they will walk you through on how to get registered in SAMS. So if you don't have that SAMS or that CAGE code, which you receive after you register, you're going to want to do that. That is part of the eligibility criteria. All right. I'm going to keep pushing the website because all the information that we're going to talk on this webinar, we will also be posting these slides so that you will have that after the fact on our website. There is a questions portal. So as you're filling out your application or you're not sure whether the documentation that you're providing is correct, you can submit us questions. However, we do encourage you to check out the frequently asked questions link. There may actually be the answer that you're looking for on the FAQ page. So we provided that link here, as well as when you are looking to apply. We have the link here, but all of this also is readily available on the website. And I do want to note that this application, it is application heavy. There's a lot of required documentation, but it would be worth your time to take a look at this because those dollars are available to help provide you relief due to this COVID-19 pandemic. Incomplete applications will delay or prevent your application from being processed. What we've learned from previous grant applicants, they may be missing that signed W-9, and that puts a 6 to 8 week additional waiting period as we gather those documents for you to receive your checks. So the more information you provide upfront, accurately, and complete, the quicker you will receive your funding. All right, I'm going to move on to the next program. This is the Workplace Safety Reimbursement Program. This program, when we look at just the sheer costs our small businesses had to incur just to safely reopen or continue their business operations. So this will provide reimbursement dollar for dollar for any type of personal protection equipment, PPE, and technology. And I'll go into details on what's eligible under this and what's not eligible. These are costs that you've incurred due to having to open and serve your customers. Applications for this program opened September 1, so that opened yesterday, and it will remain open until September 30th or until the funds are exhausted. We have a total of $10 million allocated to this program. All right, who is eligible? It's important that we really focus on our Macomb County businesses. So you must have a physical location in Macomb County. This could be an office, a building, or a storefront. Have less than 500 employees, going back to that very first slide that I presented. We really are trying to target that 99.9% of our businesses. You can be either for-profit or nonprofit. It's important that if you are a nonprofit, you must have a filed 990 with the state to be eligible for this. You must also have a valid EIN number. We do get a lot of questions on what is an EIN number. Typically, your EIN number is what you use when you file your taxes with the IRS. And in some cases, if you're a sole proprietor, it could be your social security number. It is also important for us to verify that you are a registered business in the state of Michigan. And so in order for you to apply for this, you will have to provide some proof of registration. There's two main websites. There's LARA, which is run by the state of Michigan. That's the Regulatory Affairs Division of the state, or you may have registered your business with Macomb County Clerk's Office. Later in the slide, we will walk you through how to do a business entity search so you can provide that documentation. And then also your business must be in practice for at least 12 months. Who is not eligible? Those businesses located outside of Macomb County. Even though you may be a business outside of Macomb County, but you serve Macomb County residents, unfortunately, you will not be eligible for this grant. If you do not own, lease, or rent a building or office in the county, you will not be eligible, and this is not also eligible for home-based businesses. Grant parameters. So getting back to our employee headcount. If you're an employer that has less than 49 employees, you will receive 100% reimbursement up to a $20,000 threshold for your cost. If you're an employer that has between 50 to 500 employees, you can request up to 50% reimbursement with a maximum of $20,000. In order to provide the required documents, we've listed here, it must be a complete application signed and dated. Once again, that W-9 is probably one of the most critical pieces. When we look at our financial vendor system, we can't pay you without a W-9 on file. So I wanna make sure we get that correct from you. There's gonna be an affidavit. It does not have to be notarized, but it does need to have an inked signature. You will submit proof of your LARA registration or your county clerk registration, or you could provide a Schedule C, which is a tax form when you submit your taxes for the year. Eligible receipts or invoices. It's important that we receive those invoices because you'll be reimbursed dollar for dollar for any costs that you've incurred. We will go over what those eligible expenses are. It would be really nice if you could provide us all of your receipts in one file. We'll walk through that as well. And those receipts do need to be dated from March 16th. That was the beginning of the executive order with the emergency declaration, and that they will have to be dated through September 30th, 2020. So examples of eligible reimbursement. This can include hand sanitizer, plexiglass, HVAC UV scrubbers. We have a task force, and we really did hear from our health and medical field that they had to purchase these HVAC units or scrubbers to prevent the spread of COVID-19. So those costs would be eligible. Face shields, masks, anything that, if you look at the category of personal protection equipment. So if it's something you had to purchase and you've got a receipt, that would be eligible. On the technology side, a lot of our businesses had to go to remote work, or they had to come up with a different way of doing business. And so you may have had to purchase hardware, which could be laptops or mobile devices. It could also include cameras. When you look at the conferencing, it also includes software. So if you had to purchase subscriptions to Zoom or WebEx so that you could talk to your employees, or you can conduct business meetings with your customer. Those costs would be eligible for reimbursement. All right, so we're going to also talk about what is not eligible. For example, if you are a restaurant and you had to purchase plexiglass to go in front of the counters or at the booths, if there was any construction costs that were incurred due to that, those costs are not eligible. We will reimburse for the plexiglass, the materials, but unfortunately, we will not be able to cover any of the construction or engineering. Internet connection. So if you had to purchase, or part of your normal business operations were Wi-Fi or hotspots, unfortunately, that one is not eligible. Any type of merchant or banking fee transactions. Furniture is another one that we really did take a look at, but unfortunately doesn't fall under the category of personal protection equipment. I know some of our restaurants out there had to purchase furniture for outdoor seating, and unfortunately that one is not eligible. And the second to the last one, I do want to emphasize that if you have purchases or equipments that you had previously budgeted for example, if you are a doctor's office and you know that you budgeted for the year that you were going to purchase gloves, those costs will not be reimbursed. So we're looking for any cost above and beyond your day-to-day operations. And really the narrative, does it tie back to the fact that you had to purchase these items due to COVID-19? And then also we will not be able to reimburse for any shipping. And with that, I'm going to pass the mic over to Stacy Ziarko. She's the president and CEO for the Sterling Heights Chamber, and she will talk about our online business connect.
Good morning. As this is another great opportunity for many of our small businesses, and we're calling this the Online Business Connect Grant. We realized that so many of our businesses had to change directions during the course of some of our executive orders and regulations. And so this program has up to $5 million available, and it's targeted towards those that are customer-facing businesses. And we're hoping that these grant dollars will allow them to kind of pivot their business to a digital format due to social distancing and our current regulations. A great example that we've talked often about is those of it's a restaurant that did not have an online menu for people to order takeout. So who is eligible for this grant? You must have a physical location in Macomb County, as we've talked often about all of these grants for an office building, a storefront. You must employ between 1 and 49 employees. Our priority for this grant is our customer-facing organizations, such as our retail, our restaurants, gyms, hair salons. If you do not fall into this category, we will be looking at the grant dollars as they are expended to see if there is an opportunity to support additional organizations. As we discussed, you must have a valid employer EIN number that you use for your taxes. That must be included. The business must be registered with LARA or the Macomb County Clerk's Office prior to March 16th of this year. And your business, you must have been in operation for at least the last 12 months. And who is not eligible? If you're a business located outside Macomb County, as Vicki mentioned, our priority here is really our small businesses within our county. If you do not own, lease, or rent a building, office, or storefront in Macomb County, our home-based businesses are not eligible, and our self-employed and independent contractors are not eligible through this grant. So here's what's fun. And up to $10,000 in vouchers will be made available for our businesses who are seeking to create their website, to make updates or enhancements to their current website. We'd like to implement an e-commerce application. We'd like to engage in digital marketing training. Or if you'd like to utilize, if you don't have social media platforms, create those, and then also increasing search engine optimization. Our goal in this grant is to help businesses have a stronger digital platform so that they can communicate differently with customers that are out there. So if you are interested in applying for this grant, you can apply at macombbusiness.com with all of these grants. We have been coordinating a list of vetted vendors. Once you as a business apply to be a part of this Online Business Connect grant, you'll receive a list of vendors and the specialties and the platforms they utilize. This will allow you to contact the vendor of your choosing and quote the work out that's needed. The voucher will go to the vendor that you choose to do the work that you suggest. So you may currently have a vendor that is not on the list. Please contact me with that information so that we can vet them, but that vendor must be located within Macomb County. As you've heard throughout the other grants, it's the same timeline where the grant will be open from September 1st and will remain open until September 30th, or as long as funds are available. Work for this project must have a contract obligation between the vendor and you as the business, and all work must be completed by November 30th of 2020. And now I'd like to introduce Lori Eisen. She's the program manager for Macomb County Planning and Economic Development, to walk through some of the forms and the logistics of how you can apply for one of these grants. Lori, are you here? Are you muted? You should have just gotten a button to unmute. There you go.
All right, thank you. Now I can talk. Hi, everyone. So I'll go through a little bit more of the specifics of what the application looks like. Stacey, if you can go to the next slide. All right. So we have two applications. We're going to start with the workplace safety one. If you could open it. For the workplace safety, the first section here is to, for your business information, like this is where your physical address is. Where's your storefront at? That's the address we need in this first section here. The second section is on your W-9. This section needs to match what is on your W-9 exactly. What's on line 1, what's on line 2, that all needs to be inserted into here. And then there's other information about your business and other questions, but we'll scroll to the bottom where we do the attachments. So there's one upload feature here. You click on browse files and then you can attach everything through this one box here. So it's very important that you attach every document before you submit, because otherwise you will be marked as ineligible. So you got to have your W-9, your affidavit, your receipts or invoices, which we have found if you scan them all into one document and attach them as one, that works the best. Then it's easier for the reviewer to go through all of them than it is to have multiple attachments. Plus, we did run into an issue with too many attachments. So it's best if you take all your receipts and combine them into one file. And then a copy of your LARA and clerk's registration. And then you can email yourself a copy of your responses and click submit. We can go back to the presentation. And then we don't have to go to the online business one. That's very similar to this and a little bit simpler. But again, make sure all your stuff is submitted correctly, because it will you will be marked ineligible if you are missing documents. So on the website, there are links to these here, the LARA and the Macomb County Clerk's Office. It's important that you go there and print off your information, and I'll show you exactly what we're looking for. On LARA here, you can search by your name or your ID number. So for our example today, I used the Macomb County Chamber. And when I searched for them, this is the page that came up. So this is the page that needs to be attached to your application. So you can screenshot this, you can take a picture of it, you can download it as a PDF, or you can print it off and scan it back into your computer. So this is what you'll have to submit when filling out your application. The next is the clerk's office. If you're a DBA, you usually have to register with the clerk's office, and this is where your information is found. So here's an example of what it looks like. And then on the next slide, this is the page you need to print, screenshot, take a picture of, and submit with your application. And then if you don't have either one of those, you can submit your Schedule C, which is on your tax form. This is the page that I will need in order to process your application. So this will be filled out, and again, scan it in, take a picture of it, and upload it to your application. Next one. All right, the W-9. Now this is very important that you do fill this out correctly, because this will mark you as ineligible if you don't do it right. Line 1 has to have your business name on it as you reported on your income tax return. Line 1 cannot be left blank. So whatever your business name is, that must go on line 1. Line 2, if you're a DBA, that usually is what goes on line 2. This could be left blank if you're not a DBA, but make sure you have something in line 1. Line 3 is whether you're a sole proprietor, C Corp, S Corp. You just check the box that corresponds with how you file your taxes. Now, if you are a nonprofit, you are to check other and write nonprofit in next to there, since there is no box for nonprofit above there. Lines 5 and 6 are your address. Part 1 is where you put your tax ID number. Make sure it's correct, because we did have some people put wrong numbers in there, or your social security number. Some people use that instead of a tax ID. It's just very important you put the one in there that you file your taxes under. So if you use your tax ID number, make sure that's the one you insert in there. And last but not least, on part 2, this is where you put your signature and date. And a lot of people in the last rounds forgot to do this. Make sure you sign and date it, or you will be marked as ineligible. The date must be within the last 12 months too. And the signature has to be an actual signature. You can't just type your name in there. It has to be signed. And the next slide. If you are filing for the workplace safety program, there is an affidavit you have to fill out. So when you're on the website, you can download this. It's a Word document, so it doesn't just automatically open like a web page normally would. So look in your bottom left-hand corner after you download it, or maybe go to your files and look in your downloads to find this workplace safety affidavit. This is a different affidavit than the previous grant rounds. So you do need to fill out a new affidavit for this program. You cannot use one from a previous round. So again, with this, you just fill out your business name and address, telephone number, email, EIN number. But at the very bottom here, you must sign this. Again, I cannot just have you type your name in here or it will be rejected. We need a physical signature. So print it, sign it, take a picture of it, scan it in, and then attach it to your application. And I believe that brings us to our questions. So again, if you have any questions, please submit them in the chat and we will go through them.
And I am just, I'm just reading through the questions to see what are there. If there's one, just so you all are aware, there's a couple questions about presentation materials. We will be sharing a link to this webinar after it's completed. We will also be sharing the PowerPoint slides that have been shared as well. So you'll have all of the links in there. The link will come out for the SAMS registrar as well. Vicki, here is a question regarding licensed in-home daycares. Will those qualify for any of the grants?
Great. So for the PPE and technology reimbursement, that is eligible for home-based businesses, as well as the CDBG program. That one does also include home-based. The one that does not include home-based is the Online Business Connect.
If a business received a $5,000 grant through the Macomb County CARES Act Small Business Fund, are they eligible for this grant as well?
They are, but I want to proceed that question with a little bit of caution. Because we are dealing with federal dollars, we may be subject to audit, which ultimately, if you're a recipient of a grant, you may also be subject to an audit. What you cannot do as a business is duplicate those dollars. Let's say, for example, you receive a grant and you use your $5,000 to purchase PPE. If you submit an application for PPE reimbursement, that is duplicative and that is a no-no. So you want to make sure that whatever you're submitting as far as costs, that you have not already used those dollars previous for the same cost. That's a great.
For the workplace safety grants, Vicki, can you reiterate the need for the receipts? And if receipts are not available, they would not be eligible for reimbursement.
Correct, and this goes back to the audit. We definitely need to see receipts that showcase that it is in fact a purchase, that it was a business purchase, not a personal purchase.
If a smart mobile device was needed for work, can the monthly bill be reimbursed or just the price of the device?
Right, so for the PPE and technology, we will reimburse for the cost of the device. Unfortunately, that monthly bill, that subscription is not eligible.
For workplace safety, if extra gloves, masks, or etc. were ordered for a dental office over and above what we ordered in a normal year, those would be considered reimbursable, correct?
Absolutely, yep. Anything that you incurred because of COVID-19 that you had not planned for, I just kind of use it as a rule of thumb as you're submitting those receipts or looking through some of the purchases. Any unexpected costs due to COVID-19.
How do we communicate with those that have applied if they qualify or do not qualify for these programs?
Right. So depending on which program, we have different leads taking the initiative for the CDBG program, for the Micro Enterprise Assistance Grant. The CDBG team will be fielding those questions on eligibility. For workplace safety, the technology and PPE. Unfortunately, Kelly Lavati with the Macomb Chamber wasn't able to make the call today, but she's helping field some of those eligibility questions. And then Stacy Ziarko will take any questions on the online Business Connect. And then you have the entire team at Macomb County Planning and Economic Development standing ready to help you get through this.
If you purchased an item for your business, but your personal information is on the receipt, can that receipt still be submitted?
Right. There is an opportunity for you to provide a narrative of what you had to purchase. We do want to see, it helps when there's factual information on what were those costs and how was it incurred due to your business or for your business. If it's something that you're going to write off, for example, on your IRS tax forms as equipment purchase for the business, I think that's important. And that's part of that affidavit stating that what you've provided is truthful.
There is a question here regarding the affidavit, and I can actually answer that. It says, what does relationship to the business mean? Relationship to the business is your role at the business. Are you the owner? Are you the business manager? Are you the CFO as your connection to who you are applying for? For the micro grant for the CDBG, household income, can you remind them the duration of the household income that you need?
There is a chart, it's actually on macombbusiness.com as well as embedded in this PowerPoint to take a look at the household income and determining how many are in your household and then what are the combined incomes of everyone that resides in that household.
And if you are an owner operator, the only employee, what payroll documents need to be submitted for the micro grant?
Right. This may actually come down to your, when you submit for your tax filings, perhaps maybe you're submitting quarterly, or there could be the Schedule C or a profit loss statement. We need to see a snapshot of where you currently are. What's difficult is you may showcase us last year what you made as income, but then due to COVID-19, you've incurred a tremendous loss. So we need to see that snapshot of what that loss looks like current to date.
So one of the things too, I see this a couple different times throughout the thread of questions, is we are aware that there are many, many different grant opportunities for small businesses to participate in from the state, from the federal level, and now on the local level. Vicki, there was a Michigan or an MEDC workplace safety grant from early August that was released. Can you provide some information on the difference between these two programs, and then can people apply for both or one?
Right, and this gets back to that duplication of grants. you want to make sure that if you did receive a grant from any other sources and you use that to purchase your PPE, that you're not requesting a double dip for those dollars through our grant program.
So we know that our banquet halls have been especially hard hit throughout this process. Are they eligible for these grants?
The Online Business Connect is an absolute opportunity for them to pursue that. The PPE and workplace safety, if there's anything that you had to do differently. I know some of our hardest hit businesses right now are going on 6 months of no business. The opportunity to do something different through some of these grants, you are eligible for those.
Can you submit an invoice for a piece of equipment that has not been purchased but will need to be purchased for workplace safety?
Yes, and this day has come up, for example, with our Economic Recovery Task Force, we have a lot of daycares, for example, that haven't purchased PPE because they can't afford it. So your receipt does have to be dated by September 30th in order to be eligible.
If a business is waiting for PPE reimbursement from other grant opportunities, what should they do? Should they apply for this one in the meantime while they're waiting? What is the best practice here?
Right, and there are a lot of grants out there. Macomb County, we had issued a sustainability grant, which we are actually just about wrapping up. The majority of those checks have gone out. I think 3,400 of our businesses did receive checks through that program. There also is the Michigan Restart Program, which we received $7.5 million in the form of grants. We're currently still reviewing those applications. I would say go ahead and submit where you are current to date. We do have a record in our system, so if we do see that you received money through these grant programs, we'll definitely have a dialogue to see if there's no duplication across.
For the Online Business Connect, we did mention that the company to build your website must be also located within Macomb County as well, and on our list of vetted vendors. So that question's come up a couple times, so let us know. If you need
do you want to talk a little bit about if there's a vendor on the call that's interested in becoming a vetted vendor?
We have on the I think it's on the Macomb County Business.com website as well. There is a application to apply if you do website design, website creation, social media, digital marketing, that you can apply to be one of our vendors throughout this process. And receive some of these CARES Act dollars of working with other small businesses throughout the county. So if you are interested in participating in that, we can email that link out as well with the other documents from today. Vicki, there's a couple questions about SAMS. Can you just give another quick explanation of that?
Right, so SAMS registration is required for the Microenterprise Assistance Grant. You can go visit the website, sams.gov, and try to navigate it and fill out the forms as appropriate. If you run into any issues or need some technical assistance, we would recommend that you join that webinar on September 8th that the PTAC is hosting for our businesses to see what you need to provide in order to get registered as a vendor with the federal government.
Lori, this is a question for you from the documentation. Do we allow DocuSign signatures, or does it need to be, you had stressed the fact of having a wet signature. Is that accurate?
Oh, you're on mute, Lori.
I think I asked you to unmute. There you go.
We can take a DocuSign signature on the application or affidavit.
And then I think there is still a little bit of confusion based on the chat on home-based businesses. We know that home-based businesses are not eligible for the Online Business Connect. And Vicki, I'll turn the rest of it over, let you kind of reiterate this.
Correct. So the home-based businesses for the microenterprise, that is included as an eligible entity. Also for PPE, like if you're a home-based business and you had to purchase, I think the example was given a daycare. Would I be able to seek reimbursement for cost to operate a safe daycare out of my home? And the answer is yes.
On the website differently, so we will need to update that.
The other question is on household income. How can someone pull household income? what documentation should they utilize to do that?
Right. And I know we have some of the folks here from the Community Development Block Grant Program. I don't know if we've got Stephanie Burgess or I see Angela Tarasenko on the call. As far as the documentation, maybe you can get a little bit more specifics. I'm going to try to unmute Angela. I don't see Stephanie.
I just asked Angela to unmute herself.
While we wait for that to happen, I do want to say on the website, underneath each programs, there is a question box. So if you really have a specific question that we weren't able to answer today or you didn't get a chance to ask, you can submit the question into the portal and they will be able to get back with you on some more specifics, especially in the micro enterprise. It depends on your community, depends on what is eligible or not eligible. So there is an option to be able to ask these questions as you're going through the application and somebody will get back to you.
And I think Angela's unmuted now.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate what Lori had said. It's always best to ask this with a community that you're applying for because we do have different rules for each program. So I can speak to for Warren's program. If you want to submit your, you want to take a look at your documentation from last year, what your household income looked like, and if that has changed, you know, what your household income from your tax returns look like last year.
Thank you. And if someone did not, has not yet filed 2019 taxes, are 2018 taxes eligible?
If we want to give that one to Angela, I would say go ahead and submit what you have. Each of the communities will take a look at those applications, and if they do need further documentation, they will be reaching out.
Yeah.
If someone applied yesterday when these first were released and did not include all of their necessary documentation, Lori, what is what policy can they do to get the LARA information or other documents that were not submitted with their app?
I would say send us an email at grant, I'll put it in the chat, it's grants@macombgov.org saying you applied yesterday and it's an incomplete application. I will go in and remove it and then you can reapply with all your documents.
And just another question regarding household income. The household income is only necessary for the CDBG grant because it is based on home-based income. So you do not need to provide income for the Online Business Connect or the Workplace Safety Grant. So I think that I have gone through, I have gotten all of the questions. I may have paraphrased some of them that came multiple in a few different ways. So I'm going to scroll through really fast to make sure I've gotten them. If anyone is, there is a question, Clinton Township businesses, can we apply? Yes, these grants are for all businesses throughout Macomb County.
On the micro enterprise,
There's like one small caveat with Clinton Township. When we talk about the different communities that run the CDBG, their COVID relief dollars for Clinton Township were allocated differently, not necessarily pertaining to businesses. So you'll see Clinton Township says it's not eligible. You know, at this time, you know, what I would encourage those Clinton Township businesses to do, there is a link on our website. We will probably be issuing a next round of grant funding later in the year with any leftover grant dollars that we have through the CARES Act. There's the ability for you to sign up to get emails on that. So if you have not received any type of grant funding or assistance up to this point, you know, just continue to monitor our website. But those businesses in Clinton Township, just know there may be an opportunity coming down the road for you.
You know, to reiterate, these grants are very specific in what they cover and what they don't cover. So as we said, the Workplace Safety Grant is for PPE and technology, and then the Online Business Connect is more for your digital marketing. So these grants right now cannot be used to cover rent, healthcare, or employee payroll. So another question is, if multiple businesses in multiple locations, one within Macomb County, and at a corporate level, they made PPE purchases and split the costs, can they send a spreadsheet showing the share of the cost for the Macomb County business location?
And that would be the appropriate way to do that. So looking at, you know, the total cost that was incurred to the business in Macomb County, that's what we'd want to see.
And I'm going to encourage those with questions regarding payroll documentation for the micro enterprise businesses and the CDBG funds to utilize the resources through the Macomb County and ask your questions specifically. I think that would be easier. They would be able to explain to you what information that you need.
There was one other question, I think it was really early on about if I'm a manufacturer. I think that was pertaining to the online business connect. There's a priority with that particular voucher program where if you are a customer facing business, you know, getting back to those that were first impacted by those executive orders, our restaurants, our spas, salons, gyms, retailers, there's going to be a priority for those types of businesses. For our other types of businesses, let's say you're a medical office, but you were deemed essential, and so you didn't have to shut down. You can still apply, however, you may be not higher up on that priority list depending on where the funds get allocated. We've got $5 million to that program, so we hope to get it out there. So if that is an interest to you, you know, I think the most important piece of this is you as a business have to dedicate the time and effort to get your website up and running. So, you know, if it is important, continue on the pipeline. I just know that there is a priority.
There's a question too here regarding the Online Business Connect grant. And really, this grant is not necessarily to pay for your website hosting, but more for your website design and enhancement. So your hosting service can be anywhere, but we're looking for the people that will design your website to be located within Macomb County. So it's really to impact the visual appearance of your website, what you are able to put on a website if you need more visual e-commerce, your menu, reservation system, something like that, and not necessarily the actual back-end hosting of it.
Right, and I'll throw another example out there because we were in downtown Mount Clemens last week and we visited a business that was spending $800 on Google ads just so that they could be on the top of the list. And they actually cut that out of their budget due to COVID-19. So this would provide them the opportunity to do some of that search engine optimization, keyword searches, and doing some ads to get you on the very top of that Google list if someone's looking for you.
A question from logistics. If you submit a receipt that turns out not to be eligible, will that just amount not be included in your reimbursement, or will the entire application be rejected?
Right. There's a review team that will be looking at all of the applications. So if there's any questions to the eligibility of the receipt, you will be hearing from us.
To reiterate how the Online Business Connect program works in terms of payment, you will apply. We will provide you with a list of vetted vendors that the chamber and the county has been working with, and we will pay the vendor. So you will commit to a contract with the vendor, and then the county will submit payment on your behalf to that vendor. And then, yes, social media presence like Facebook and Google Ads are eligible as part of this grant as well. And I think I've hit all the questions. Yes, to answer one that came up several times, this will be shared. The link will be shared, the PowerPoint slides will be shared, and we will also provide you with a link to all of the grants that are eligible as well. So Vicki, I think that those are all the questions we have. Oh, there is one that came through. Oh, that it was very helpful. Thank you. So you can wrap it up.
Yeah, wonderful. I want to thank each and every one of you. What you're enduring right now as a small business, you know, we feel your pain. You know, these programs are designed for you in mind. We try to make it as seamless and quick and easy as an application as possible, but we know questions do come up. Please take a look at our macombbusiness.com website for the FAQs. If you still run into any issues, you know, send a question via the portal and we will be in touch.
Awesome.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.